Welcome to this video of the Facebook Group Domination Masterclass. My name is Leon Chaudhry, and this video I would like to talk with you about the question, what exactly is a micro-influencer marketing? So what I'm going to do right now is, first of all, we want to define what exactly an influencer is. And I took the definition from Cambridge Dictionary, and basically says a person or group that has the ability to influence the behavior or opinion of others. The influencer is the individual whose effect on the purchase decision is in some way significant or authoritative. I think this is now quite interesting because what people most of the time think when they see an influencer, I now talk about older people, is just a young kid or someone who has a lot of followers. But in the end, this person really seems to be like an authority. So what we do when we build a following is not just that we have followers, we are an authority for them, and that's how we need to behave. Now, an authority basically decides what the person that follows the authority does. So what you want to do is you want the people who follow you to tell them, you want to tell them what exactly they're supposed to do. Now, of course, I don't mean that in the way that you say, do that right now, but you kind of want to behave in the way that you say, I know what's good for you. So for instance, you produce an online video course and you tell people, all right, I will show you how to build a massive business. So what you say to them is basically, you should buy this course because it will help you to build a massive business. So an influencer is always a person also who is in some way an authority. So for instance, there are many bad influencers in the sense that they smoke, they drink, they don't behave nice, they, say perhaps even bad things, but still people think that they are an authority and somehow they still buy from them. Now, this is psychology 101. If some person is doing something that other people don't do, there's always going to be someone who likes that behavior. So we just simply have to find the target group. We have to figure out, okay, who's interested in us, who wants to follow us, and to whom can we be an authority. So now the question is, what exactly is a micro-influencer? Because I think we now know what an influencer is. It's basically someone who has an influence on the behavior of someone else. It has an influence also on the purchase decision of someone else. And most of the time, practically these are, for instance, people who have millions and millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and so on and so on. Now, what exactly is a micro-influencer? Well, a micro-influencer is basically a person who influences people in a smaller sphere. So the thing that we have to understand right now is that most of the time, normal influencers, they have millions of followers, but they don't really know any of these followers. And now there's something happening. These kind of micro-influencers, they often focus on depth and not on width. So basically, they don't have as many followers as an Instagram, let's say Fit Girl, or an Instagram, let's say Business Guru or something like that. They have a very small following, but the following knows exactly what this influencer is doing, what he's about, and the influencer knows exactly what the people around him are about. So basically a very strong connection, basically like a team or like a club. And a micro-influencer is now someone who's basically the authority in that small club. So in this case now, I just want to say that most people think that micro-influencers are somehow less important than normal influencers. Well, first of all, the influence definition is most of the time being defined by the actual, for instance, likes, and then also the response rate. So basically how many people respond to, for instance, a photo. Let's say, for instance, you have 10 million followers that you all bought, but you don't get a single like on your photo. Well, then you're not really an influencer, you're someone who bought followers. An influencer is basically a person who also gets something in return, in the sense that the people that follow him or her are actually following him or her in the sense that they are updated and they, comment, for instance, on new posts that were issued by that person. Now, micro-influencers, in my mind, are perhaps even more important than big influencers, because micro-influencers need only, let's say, 1,000 people that really trust them and that, have a very, very strong bond to them to make a living forever. Basically, if you have 1,000 people, and this is actually the 1,000 people rule, if you have 1,000 people that you can always sell to at any given time, then you are financially free, basically. Right now, for instance, I have around 10,000, 20,000 people that every single time that I sell something, every single time I sell something or produce something, they have a look at it. I have people like 10 to 20,000 who open, for instance, my email when I publish a new course, but I only have around 200, 300 people who every single time purchase my course right away on the first day. So for instance, this course right now was already been purchased probably like, let's say 200, 300 people who are on my email list, but I don't have 1,000 yet. If you have 1,000 people who are going to purchase everything that you basically sell, then you know that you never have to work probably in your life again. So basically, if you launch a product every single month and the product has a profit margin of $10, you're gonna make 10 grand only from these people. Now, the point is here, it is often much more easy for micro influencers to find 1,000 people than for influencers who have millions of people, because the influencers with millions of people, it's more difficult for them to interact with them. Now, of course, they can just simply, rely on how many people they have, so basically on the width. But if they have followers that perhaps don't have a lot of money or cannot afford these products, or cannot just, they cannot buy it because they have not the right payment system or something like that, then they have a problem. But if I know exactly like what kind of payment system the other person uses, how much money he has, how much he could spend, how much he could not spend, then I know exactly that I can basically put a framework. I can target these people, I can put a framework around them and say, okay, this is my target group. I want to target them. But if you're an influencer, for instance, on Instagram, then everyone can follow you. But if you have, for instance, a group, you can only let people in that you know about. And that's why it's always also so important to ask questions when people join a group. So basically, it is much more easy for a micro influencer to find 1,000 people that would purchase from him or her at any given time than for someone who has, let's say, 1 million followers. Now, in my mind, really, Devs is great for selling long-term to one person, or basically to a group of people. Width is great for quick sales. So basically, if you have, let's say, 1 million followers, then 1 out of 100 is going to buy. So basically 10,000 people are going to buy. But to do that in the long term is almost not possible, because, let's say you're launching a product and you have 1 million followers and 1 out of 100 on average buys, then you have 10,000 people who buy. And let's say you have a profit margin of $5. Well, you're going to make 50 grand. And that's like, wow, I'm making 50 grand. But let's say you're publishing a product every 2 to 3 days. Would these people buy again and again and again and again? No, probably not. But to have people that really follow you and that would give everything just to know more about you, to learn from you, and who know that your products are great. If you have these, let's say, 1,000 people and they always come back, then believe me, you will not have to work at any given point in time anymore. And that's why I think, groups are so amazing. So again, Depth is great for selling long term, Width is great for quick sales. All right, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other in the next video.